The search is over for the man investigators believe is connected to a fatal shooting in Dublin that happened Friday morning. 31-year-old mother, Detronell Downing, died in that shooting.
A 12-year-old boy kneels in a parking lot, pressing his hands against his mother's chest. Blood covers his fingers. He's trying to save her life with CPR, but it's not working. She's already gone. The man who shot her? Just 3 years ago, he called this boy son. He took him on family trips. He smiled in photos with him. He promised to protect this family. Now that same man has destroyed it. What do you do when the person who once loved you becomes the person hunting you? What do you do when leaving isn't enough? When saying no isn't enough? When even hiding isn't enough? This is the story of Detronell Downing, a 31-year-old mother of 4 who worked 2 jobs to feed her children. A woman everyone called Mama. A woman who tried to walk away from a toxic relationship, but her ex-boyfriend, Lenton Jones, refused to let her go. And on March 7th, 2025, he made sure no one else could have her either. Welcome to Shadows of Crime, where we cover true crime, stories that matter, cases that make us question, think, and understand the world around us. If you're passionate about true crime and want to see more cases like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And as we go through this story, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever heard of a case like this in your area? Detronell Michelle Downing was born on June 11th, 1993, in Detroit, Michigan. She later moved to Dublin, Georgia, where she graduated from Dublin High School and built her life. Everyone who knew her called her Mama, and that nickname tells you everything you need to know about who she was. Detronell was a mother of 4 children, Nilej, Kobe, Ahiri, and Kyra. Being their mother wasn't just something she did, it was who she was. Her children were her world, her greatest accomplishment, and the reason she worked so hard every single day. And she worked hard. Detronell didn't have one job. She had 2. During the day, she worked at Puma as an order processing clerk. Then she picked up shifts at Burger King to make sure her kids had everything they needed. 2 jobs, 4 children, and she never complained. Her co-workers at Puma adored her. Her friends cherished her. Neighbors at the Hillcrest apartment complex described her as someone special. Robbie Hudson, who lived nearby, said, "She was very respectable, a very nice person. I just met her since I moved over here."
She was very respectable, a very nice person. And I just met her since I moved over here.
Another neighbor, Patricia Miller, often saw Detronell's sons playing on the playground. She remembered Detronell as someone who always had a kind word and a warm smile. But Mama was more than just nice. She was the kind of person who would open her home if someone needed a place to stay. She was the kind of person you could trust with your deepest secrets. She made people feel like family, whether she'd known them for 5 minutes or 5 years. Her energy was magnetic. Her heart was big enough to carry the world. And her greatest joy? Watching her children grow. Every sacrifice she made, every extra shift she picked up, every tired night after working 2 jobs, it was all for them. Detronell wasn't out here living recklessly. She wasn't looking for trouble. She was just trying to live. She was trying to provide for her kids, keep a roof over their heads, and give them a better life than she had. What state or country are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. We love hearing from our viewers all around the world. Now, Detronell's life wasn't perfect. She'd experienced loss before. In fact, her oldest son once asked her a heartbreaking question. Do we have a bad family because God keeps taking everybody we love? That tells you this family had already been through pain. They'd already lost people they cared about. and Detrenel was doing everything she could to hold her family together and keep moving forward. But in 2020, during the pandemic, darkness entered her life in the form of a man named Lenton Jones. In the days leading up to March 7th, 2025, something strange was happening at the Hillcrest apartment complex in Dublin, Georgia. Neighbors saw a man walking around the parking lot. Not during the day. Not in the evening. At 3 o'clock in the morning, for 3 nights straight, Lenton Jones circled Detrenel's apartment building. Walking. Watching. Waiting. People saw him. They noticed him lurking in the shadows while everyone else was asleep. But nobody knew what he was planning. Nobody warned Detrenel that her ex-boyfriend was out there in the darkness. According to her sister, Tiara Downing, this wasn't just random behavior. Tiara said, "You plotted on my sister for a week straight. The people seen you walking around her apartment at 3 o'clock in the morning for 3 days straight. You finally decided to make that coward move on her. I just wish we knew you were coming around her house. It wouldn't have never got this far, because she wouldn't have went back." A week of planning, 3 days of stalking. And Detrenel had no idea the danger closing in on her. This wasn't Lenton's first brush with the law. He had convictions for drugs and illegal weapons. People who knew him described his temper as explosive and unpredictable. He was the kind of man who should have been nowhere near a woman trying to rebuild her life. But like many abusers, Lenton knew how to wear a mask. He knew how to look harmless. He knew how to make people believe he was just a regular guy who loved his girlfriend and her kids. The truth was far darker. When Detrenel ended their relationship, Lenton couldn't accept it. His apologies didn't work. His promises to change didn't work. So he switched from smooth talker to obsessed stalker. And for 3 nights, while Detrenel slept inside her apartment with her 4 children, he was outside, watching her windows, memorizing her schedule, waiting for the perfect moment. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? That uncomfortable feeling that you're not alone even when you can't see anyone? Drop a comment below and let us know. Because that's exactly what was happening to Detrenel, except she didn't know it. She was just trying to live her life, go to work, and take care of her kids. But to understand why Lenton Jones couldn't let her go, why he became so obsessed that he'd rather kill her than see her move on, you need to know who Detrenel really was. During the pandemic in 2020, Detrenel met Lenton Jones. What started as flirty banter quickly turned into something more serious. From the outside looking in, they looked perfect together. Lenton seemed like everything Detrenel wanted in a partner. He made her smile. He made her laugh. He became her happy place. On his 35th birthday, after they'd been dating for a little over a year, Detrenel posted on social media, "Help me wish my man a happy birthday. To know him is to love him. Me and the kids love you. I'm going to make sure you enjoy yourself. This man's been bringing nothing but happiness to me." She was grateful for him. She praised him publicly. She believed she'd finally found someone who would treat her right. Lenton even bought her a car for her birthday in the 2nd year of their relationship. Detrenel was so thankful. She posted about it, showing her appreciation for the man she thought loved her. They went on family vacations together. They had date nights. They spent time with her kids. And Lenton didn't just tolerate her children. He became a father figure to them. He called them his own. He acted like he loved them. Every year on their anniversary, July 18th, Detrenel would post about their relationship. She'd write things like, "Forever to go," believing they would be together for the rest of their lives. For the first couple of years, everything seemed solid. Detrenel thought she'd hit the jackpot. But going into the 3rd year, things started to change. The social media posts about Lenton stopped. No more birthday shout-outs. No more anniversary celebrations. No more declarations of love. Something had shifted. Like many abusers, Lenton knew how to wear a mask. He knew how to look like the perfect boyfriend in public while being someone completely different behind closed doors. Rumors started spreading. People whispered about cheating, about disappearing acts, about explosive temper tantrums that came out of nowhere. The relationship that once brought Detrenel happiness now brought her pain. The man who once made her smile now made her anxious. The happy place she thought she'd found had turned into something toxic. Detrenel's once happy place with Lenton was not the same anymore. Things were headed in the wrong direction, and she knew it. By 2024, Detrenel had made up her mind. She was done. She wanted to break things off and move forward in her life without Lenton Jones. She wanted peace. She wanted to focus on her children. She wanted to be free from whatever their relationship had become. But Lenton refused to let go. He couldn't accept that she didn't want him anymore. He couldn't handle the rejection. He couldn't stand the thought of Detrenel moving on with her life without him. When his apologies didn't work, when his promises to change fell flat, Lenton switched gears. He went from smooth talker to obsessed stalker. He started showing up where he wasn't supposed to be. He started watching her. He started making it clear that if he couldn't have her, nobody could. Detrenel tried to move on. She made it clear she didn't want to go back to a relationship that no longer served her or her family. She set boundaries. She said no. And for that, for choosing herself, for trying to protect her peace and her children, she would pay the ultimate price. Because Lenton Jones wasn't the kind of man who accepted no for an answer. He wasn't the kind of man who could let a woman walk away. He was the kind of man who believed Detrenel's life belonged to him, and if he couldn't control her life, he would take it. If this story is hitting you hard, please take a moment to like this video and share it. Cases like Detrenel's need to be heard. Domestic violence is an epidemic, and awareness saves lives. Your engagement helps push this story to people who need to see it, people who might be in similar situations, people who need to know the warning signs. What do you think Detrenel should have done differently? Or better yet, what should he have done? Should Lenton have just accepted the breakup and moved on with his life? Should he have gotten help for his anger and obsession? Comment below and let us know your thoughts. Because what happened next wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't a moment of anger that got out of control. It wasn't an accident. March 7th, 2025, Friday morning, approximately 5:20 a.m. The sun hadn't fully risen yet. Most people in Dublin, Georgia, were still asleep. But Detrenel Downing was already awake, getting ready to start her day. She had 2 jobs to get to, 4 kids to take care of. Life didn't stop, so neither did she. That morning, Detrenel and her 2 sons, 12-year-old King and his 10-year-old brother, were heading out. They walked toward the parking lot of the Hillcrest apartment complex where Detrenel lived. But someone was waiting for them. Lenton Jones was in that parking lot. After 3 nights of stalking, after a week of planning, he was finally ready to make his move. He confronted Detrenel right there in front of her children. The same children he once claimed to love. The same children he once called his own. The same children he took on family vacations and smiled with in photos. They were standing right there, watching. During the confrontation, Lenton pulled out a gun, and then he did the unthinkable. He shot Detrenel. Not once, multiple times, in cold blood, while her sons stood there watching their mother get gunned down. The woman who worked 2 jobs to feed them. The woman who sacrificed everything for them. The woman they called Mama. She fell to the ground in that parking lot, bleeding, dying. Lenton didn't check on her. He didn't call for help. He didn't show any remorse. He ran. He fled the scene like the coward he was, leaving Detrenel's children standing over their mother's body. But King, the 12-year-old, didn't freeze. He didn't run away screaming. He dropped to his knees and started performing CPR on his mother. A 12-year-old child, trying to save his mother's life with his own hands, pressing on her chest, begging her to breathe, begging her to stay alive. His 10-year-old brother watched in horror, unable to do anything but witness the worst moment of his life. Neighbor Robbie Hudson later described what those boys went through. She said, "Those young boys, when they were trying to help there, Mama do CPR on her, and it was no good. It was no good."
When they were trying to help their mama, do CPR on her, and it was no good.
King couldn't save her. No matter how hard he tried, no matter how much he wanted to bring his mother back, she was already gone. Police and ambulances arrived at the Hillcrest apartment complex shortly after. When officers got to the scene, they found Detronell Michelle Downing dead in the parking lot with a gunshot wound. But what happened next disturbed the neighbors even more. Detronell's body remained in that parking lot for hours. The investigation took a long time, and during all of that time, her body just laid there. Patricia Miller, another neighbor, said she was disturbed by what she saw. She said, "That kind of bothered me because of the fact they didn't even cover her with a sheet. It had clothes on top of it like it was a pile of clothes or something. But I knew it was a body the way it was laid and everything. I don't think that was right."
That kind of bothered me because of the fact they didn't even cover her with a sheet. It had clothes on top of it like it was a pile of clothes or something. But I knew it was a body the way it was, laid and everything. I don't think that was right.
Imagine that. A mother of 4, a woman who worked 2 jobs, a woman who was loved by everyone who knew her, lying in a parking lot with clothes thrown over her body like she was nothing. And her children had to see that. They had to witness not just the murder, but the aftermath, the yellow tape, the police cars, the investigators, their mother's body on the ground. King, the boy who tried so desperately to save his mother, had to stand there knowing he couldn't bring her back. The same boy who once asked his mother, "Do we have a bad family because God keeps taking everybody we love?" now had to add his own mother to that list. Detronell's body was later taken to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's medical examiner's office for an autopsy. But the damage was already done. 4 children no longer had a mother. A family was shattered. A community was in shock. And Lenton Jones? He was nowhere to be found. After shooting Detronell in front of her children, Lenton Jones disappeared. Friday morning came and went. No sign of him. Saturday. Still nothing. Sunday. He was still on the run. The Dublin Police Department issued a BO on the lookout alert for 37-year-old Lenton Jones. They told the public he was wanted in connection with the murder of Detronell Downing. They warned people not to approach him. But for Detronell's family, especially her children, those 3 days were pure terror. King, the 12-year-old who had tried to save his mother's life, was too scared to sleep. He was afraid Lenton would come back, afraid he would hurt the rest of the family, afraid that the man who murdered his mother was still out there, watching, waiting. One of Detronell's family members later shared just how traumatized King was during those 3 days. That poor child couldn't close his eyes. He couldn't rest. He couldn't feel safe knowing his mother's killer was still free. Then, on Monday, March 10th, 2025, the search finally ended. Lenton Jones turned himself in at the Dublin Police Department that morning. He was immediately booked into the Lawrence County Detention Center. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation announced the charges against him: malice murder, 2 counts of cruelty to children in the 1st degree, 1 count of aggravated assault, and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. Malice murder. That means the killing was intentional and without justification. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't self-defense. It was murder, plain and simple. 2 counts of cruelty to children in the 1st degree. Because he didn't just kill Detrenel. He did it in front of her sons. He traumatized those children for life. He made them watch their mother die. When King found out that Lenton had been arrested, he told his aunt, "Auntie, they got him." His aunt said, "I know, baby." And King replied, "I can sleep now." Think about that. A 12-year-old child couldn't sleep for 3 days because he was terrified the man who killed his mother would come back. Only when Lenton was behind bars could that boy finally close his eyes and feel safe. But the damage was already done. No arrest could undo what King and his brother witnessed. No jail cell could erase the image of their mother bleeding in that parking lot. No charges could bring Detrenel back. Do you think Lenton Jones should face the death penalty? Or should he spend the rest of his life in prison? Let us know what you think in the comments, because while justice was beginning to take its course, Detrenel's family was left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Lenton didn't just kill Detrenel. He destroyed her in front of the people she loved most, her children. And those children were left to deal with trauma no child should ever experience. King, the 12-year-old, had already been through so much loss in his young life. Before his mother was murdered, he had asked her, "Do we have a bad family because God keeps taking everybody we love?" Now he had witnessed his mother's murder. He had tried to save her life with CPR and failed. He carried the weight of that failure, even though there was nothing more he could have done. The woman who worked 2 jobs for them. The woman who sacrificed everything for them. The woman who loved them more than anything in this world. They would now grow up with post-traumatic stress, survivor's guilt, and fear. They would have nightmares. They would struggle to trust people. They would carry this trauma for the rest of their lives. On March 22nd, 2025, friends, family, and co-workers gathered at Dublin Middle School gym to say their final goodbye to Detrenel. There wasn't a dry eye in that gym. A mother was gone. A family was broken. And 4 children had to say goodbye far too soon. Detrenel's story is heartbreaking, but it's not unique. This happens far too often in our country. There were clear warning signs in this case that we need to talk about. First, stalking behavior. Lenton was seen walking around Detrenel's apartment at 3 o'clock in the morning for 3 days straight. Stalking is not romantic. It's predatory. And it's a strong predictor that violence is coming. Second, inability to accept rejection. When Detrenel ended the relationship, Lenton refused to let go. He couldn't handle the word no. That's a major red flag. Third, criminal history. Lenton had convictions for drugs and illegal weapons. He had a documented violent temper. These are warning signs that should never be ignored. Fourth, obsessive behavior. According to Tiara, Lenton plotted on Detrenel for a week straight. This wasn't a sudden crime of passion. It was planned. So what could have prevented this tragedy? If neighbors had reported the stalking to police when they saw Lenton lurking around at 3 in the morning, authorities could have intervened. If Detrenel's family had known he was circling her apartment, they could have warned her or helped her take extra precautions. If there were better resources and enforcement for protective orders, Detrenel might have had more protection. Here's what you need to know. The period right after a breakup is the most dangerous time for victims of domestic violence. That's when abusers feel they've lost control, and that's when they're most likely to become violent or deadly. Children who witness a parent's murder suffer lifelong trauma. King and his brother will carry what they saw for the rest of their lives. We need to recognize the signs. We need to report suspicious behavior. We need to believe victims when they say they're afraid. And we need to support organizations that help people escape dangerous relationships. Detrenel deserved better. Her children deserved better. And so does every person trapped in a violent relationship. If this case moved you, please hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to help us continue covering stories that matter. Your engagement helps push this content to people who need to see it, people who might be in dangerous relationships, people who need to know the warning signs, people who need to understand that domestic violence can happen to anyone. Have you, or someone you know, experienced something similar? What resources helped you get out? Share in the comments. Your story might save someone's life. It might give someone the courage to leave before it's too late. Detrenell Michelle Downing was more than a victim. She was Mama, a mother of 4 beautiful children. A woman who worked 2 jobs to provide for her family. A kind soul who would open her home to anyone in need. A friend, a sister, a daughter. She deserved to live. She deserved to raise her children. She deserved to grow old and watch her grandchildren play. She deserved peace. But Lenton Jones took all of that away because he couldn't accept the word no. Rest in peace, Detrenell Michelle Downing. Never forgotten. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, stay safe, and never ignore the warning signs.